Okay,
All set, Sean?
yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Pursuant to section 20 of chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 as amended, Port Council members are participating remotely in today's meeting because of their physical attendance today would be unreasonably difficult. Excuse me, all Port Council members in attendance and all members participating in the meeting by Zoom video conferencing app will be clearly audible to each other. As a result, members' remote participation in the meeting and any and all votes taken by the members today shall be by roll call vote. I would also like to inform everybody that Sean Driscoll, the authority's communication director, is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting. Is there anyone else making an audio recording of today's meeting? If so, please identify yourself.
Okay,
Key from the MB Times.
you.
Anybody
That's all I
else?
see. Oh, that's all I
Thank
see.
you. If you are joining virtually, please press the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard, or if you're joined by phone by pressing 9 on your keypad. And when you are recognized, please state your name for the record. Thank you. Beginning with item 1, the minutes of the meeting. Have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting.
I'll move approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Murnier,
Aye,
how do you vote?
yes.
Mr. Lowell,
Aye.
Mr. Cahill,
Cahill, aye.
Solito, aye. Number 2, the management report update on current projects, including number 1, website update redesign.
All right, so before we start, I'll just mention who's in, we're at the Hyannis Terminal conference room on the 2nd floor. In addition to myself and Terrence Keneally, and Rob Muni is here, Sean Driscoll, Mark Higgins, Mark Rosem, Bob Jones, Dave Oberlander, Ryan Cummings, Stephen Coleman, Kurt Van Riper, Allison Fletcher, Janice Kennefic, and Bridget Sullivan. And with regards to the website, I'll turn it over to Sean.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So the Steamship Authority and the company now known as Stellar Elements, formerly known as Project 202, formerly known as ADK Group, they're on their 3rd name, have begun discussions about moving to a fall launch date due to the volume and complexity of the work that's remaining in the project. Large portions of the functionality are complete from a development standpoint, but many items remain to be fully tested and debugged, and much of the remaining work is made up of edge cases that affect a relatively few number of users, but are complicated to solve from a technological standpoint. So we're in discussions with them right now. We're going to bring a proposal to the board at the June meeting to finalize the details of the new launch date. Our total project cost stands at 2.5 million. To date, 96% of the revised budget cost has been spent. And we have been ongoing with our public engagement through the e-news and website updates at steamshipauthority.com/website project. So happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Sean, curious, in June, when you present to the to the board, will there be an increase in the budget?
That's part of the discussions that we're having, but yes, we'll need to fund development through the summer, so there will be a change order coming.
Do we know the magnitude of that, or too early to tell?
We're still having discussions, so I'd rather not put a number out until we're a little bit firmer on it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Item 2, Woods Hole.
Joe,
I'm sorry.
Joe.
Rob has a
Yeah, if you
question.
don't mind, sorry, Joe, it's probably gonna
I
be
didn't see
tricky to. So following up on John's question, Sean, and that's why is the responsibility steamships as opposed to the provider for this delay?
It's a multitude of factors. The including but not limited to the fact that when we started this project, we were also switching credit card processors, and it took longer for the web team to get involved in that work than we'd hoped. Also, the people who are working on implementing the credit card processing at the terminals and at the reservation office are the same people that we need to implement on the web. So there's a limitation of resources on that front, as well as just in general at our IT department of the number of people who can do the programming. So everybody's working really hard. There's just a lot of work to do. And I mean, part of the discussion we're having is how the costs are going to split out, but there is, you know, it is the result of bottlenecks on largely our side, unfortunately.
Any other questions?
So if I may, I think one of the big things is that, as part of this, as separate from this project, but as a consequence, we were changing our credit card processor on who we're dealing with, and the complexities of that. I think the rollout of that has taken considerably longer than what we anticipated because of again, resources not on our end, but also on the you know, on the programming side. So and that's had compounded the issue with the development of the website that we thought we might be able to overcome, but at this point it doesn't appear that we're going to be able to have the website that we want to have available right out of the box in time for a June rollout. So,
And it's substantially less risky to wait until fall because of the volume of traffic on the website. We wouldn't want to launch over the summer. So if we were not going to make a mid-June date, then fall is the next option. We would not want to launch a website in July or August.
I can understand.
Yeah.
And you alluded to there being on their third name change. Does that have to do with ownership change, or does that have to do with just marketing? And I guess that, you know, you could infer that there's some inefficiencies associated with this provider changing hands and changing names.
They haven't,
Course of the
well,
process, but you know, maybe I'm jumping to a wrong conclusion.
I think you are, but actually Ben Kaplan is on and he's probably better to speak to that than I am. Ben from Stellar Elements, would you care to speak to the name changes?
Hey guys, this is Ben. Looks like I'm audio only. Yes, so I'm, you know, I'm cognizant that I'm speaking to an organization who has managed to keep their name the same since incorporation in 1960, and we've changed our name 3 different times since we engaged. So a little bit of backstory on our organization. So up here in Boston, we began in 2010 as a company called ADK Group. We grew to about 150 website developers and app developers. In March of 2021, so about 9 months before we engaged with the Steamship Authority, ADK Group, Boston-based, was acquired by Project 202. Project 202 is a larger product development company. And in 2021 and 2022, they were going around the country and going to every major city in the US and trying to find the best agency out there around the size of ADK. So they bought us up here in Boston. Down in Atlanta, they bought a major native app development company called Big Nerd Ranch. Out in San Francisco, they bought a company called Chibo. In Chicago, a company called Aura. The names don't matter, but Project 202 assembled all of these different companies together. And really the story of the last 3 years, really this began before we engaged with the Steamship Authority, has been one of coming together. So got all these different brands, all these different sort of weird names. the determination was made about 6 months ago that we need a new name that's going to unify all these different folks together under one banner. So that's really where the name Stellar Elements comes from. It comes from a process of how do we sort of shed these sort of old local company names and become one thing. And it's been coupled with a pooling of our delivery talents and expansion of the services we're able to offer, because as an office, we can come together. This unification is reflective of some of the work that we've done for the Steamship Authority. We've been able to pull in talented folks from across the country who have a wide variety of skill sets, and it's enabled us to solve some of the challenges we faced in really unique and interesting ways that as a 100-person agency called ADK, we may not have been able to solve so effectively. So to answer the original question directly, this name change does not represent any change in ownership structure. It represents, I would say, the end of a fairly lengthy process that's lasted for us here in Boston over 3 years of unification, coming together, and improving how we deliver our services. Back to you, Sean.
Great. Thanks, Ben.
Any other questions? Thank you. Number 2, site work on Woods Hole site work, please.
All right, so we don't have any presentation on the site work because the site work is completed at this point. They had the switchover of the power that had been going into the freight shed, was switched over to the switchgear shed that's in the employee lot now. So that completed that portion of the project. The next step is we filed sub bids for the terminal and utility building construction this past Wednesday, May 31st. In the general contractor bids for the buildings is due on Tuesday, June 13th. So that'll be our next big thing. At this point, we've sent out 226 community emails regarding the project. We don't, other than receiving the bids and the award, we don't anticipate any work taking place until the fall.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Number 3 on the agenda, the SQMS update, please.
All right, so Bridget Sullivan is here, so we'll have her come up to the table and.
Next slide, please, Sean.
Great.
Okay, very good. So Ty Haynes of RENA, he's from our recognized organization, which is certifying our 9001 quality standards portion of our SQMS system, has completed our audit. The audit was found satisfactory with no nonconformities. Next slide, please. Ty Haynes did include some feedback in his audit report, most notably how impressed he was of our team, from Bob and his commitment to our SQMS system and all the way down to our staff. As stated, we take safety very seriously, and we are committed to continual improvement of our SQMS system. Next slide, please. Starting tomorrow, we will commence with the vessel interim audits, which will then complete the interim phase of the audit process. On Thursday, we'll move forward with the first initial audit, and that will be at our admin building with regards to our written procedures, practices and procedures. Next slide, please. And as you can see, by the end of the month, we hope to complete the initial audit of all vessels that are currently in operation and move forward from there. Next slide, please. And just an update with regards to our budgets. This is just a snapshot of the certification process so far, and at this time, we remain within the scope of the bid award with no anticipated concerns. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? Thank you.
Can I just ask one
Oh, sorry,
thing?
I didn't, go ahead, yeah.
I don't wanna, I'm not trying to make it go longer. Just asking what an audit of a vessel actually means. Like, what does that entail? If that's okay to ask.
That's definitely
Curious.
okay. So the interim is essentially a 30-minute audit. And so the RENA auditor who will be joining us tomorrow, his name is Aaron, who will be boarding the vessel during the turnaround time. He'll be meeting with the captains. He'll be reviewing the certifications on board. He'll be asking for the credentials of all crew members. He will also visit the engine space. And he will be doing the same practice there, ensuring that all the procedures that are required to be posted are there and that manuals are also available. For the initial audit, it'll be slightly different. It'll be 4 to 6 hours. On vessels leaving from Hyannis, it will be a one-trip audit. Vessels leaving from Woods Hole, it will actually encompass 2 full round trips. And it will be completely in ZAP and will include emergency drills, procedures, and practices, locations of equipment, similar to that of a Coast Guard inspection, and capturing our SQMS manuals and policies and documentation.
Okay. Then thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? Again, thank you.
Thank you, Bridget.
Item number 4, the MV Barnstable and the MV Aquina status.
Okay, I think Mark A is coming over.
Good morning, everyone. Greetings from Alabama Shipyard. As previously, the Barnstable and Aquina are up on the hard on blocks, and maybe we can get to the first slide, please. Okay, both of them are side by side at the shipyard they're all on blocks in this picture. Next. Okay, this is probably the first stage. What we've begun in the first stage is cleaning and gas freeing all the fuel tanks prior to any hot work. And this will be a commencement here of removal of the deck wood removal. Next slide, please. And this is with all the wood is up. I know it doesn't look too amiable at the moment, but the steel underneath is in good condition. And this is just a matter of getting all the fuel oil tank lids up, getting all the fuel out, cleaning and gas freeing prior to cutting the section of the vessel, the 14-foot section out. And probably our next session will be, once we're clean and gas free, will be a lot more to present, including a financial snapshot, but that's the status as of right now.
Any questions?
Wow. Can I just ask one, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Mark, I didn't know the decks were wood. That's interesting. Can you explain that? I mean, obviously you understand why they are. I've never.
Yeah, they're, these as OSVs, these would go out to a rig and they have a crane on the rig and then be placing heavy objects down, and it's really to protect the steel underneath. We will not be putting wood back down. These are going to be steel, obviously.
I know. That's what I was going to ask next. So are we going to create some sort of a way to not have, like, air in between the decks so that they corrode, or what are we, how are we going to construct that? Not that I'm sure that there's a plan. I'm just asking.
Yeah, we're going to be blasting the decks to near white and beginning our coating programs to protect the steel, as we do with all of our vessels.
No, I know. I meant, but there's going to be obviously a steel deck above that, or is that the actual deck?
That's the actual deck. We'll be cutting off that angle iron and that you see there, it'll be a completely flat deck. All
All
the
right,
manhole covers will be flush. That's part of the conversion.
I got it. So that is gonna be the deck. It's not gonna be like new something above it. That's, you know,
Yes.
like, okay, got it. Thank you.
Any other questions of Mark?
Yeah, I've got one, Mark, just curious about
Sure.
the schedule, how the schedule looks, and the productivity of the shipyard.
Well, the initial one, we're probably right now, we're still on schedule, just getting the initial gas freeing done before the items. Our current has us, the vessels being redelivered in early April next year, and then coming up for training up to Fairhaven thereafter.
How about the manpower in the shipyard and just your observations of their,
Well, a lot of the work is with subcontractors. Matter of fact, all the work right now is with subcontractors. That's how they have it laid out in this particular dry docking. The supervision is complete with Alabama Shipyard, just that the workers are subcontracted.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions of Mark? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 5, the strategic plan status.
All right, so just a quick update on the progress of the strategic planning initiative. There was a community open house that was held Monday, May 22nd in the administration building in Falmouth. The following morning, Tuesday the 23rd, there was a session held at the Oak Bluffs Library. And then later on that same day, in the evening, at the Tisbury Public Safety Building. A community open house was then held on Wednesday the 24th here in Hyannis. And I think the last community open house is planned for Tuesday, June 13th, over in Nantucket at the Nantucket Yacht Club. Employee surveys as well as a public survey remain open until June 30th. So I'd encourage anyone to go to our website. There's a link there that can be found at steamshipauthority.com in order to take the survey and provide feedback in terms of the long-term strategic planning.
Any questions of Bob?
How do the meetings go?
Varying degrees of engagement. The ones on the vineyard were well attended. None of the staff attended. Ratilis requested that we don't, because they felt that if we were there, that it becomes a here and now issue as opposed to the bigger issues and things like that. But the feedback we've gotten was, on the island, it was well received. And we did have members of the community, both here in Hyannis and Woods Hole, and Falmouth. We expect that Nantucket will have a good turnout as well. So, thank you.
I happened to attend the meeting in Oak Bluffs, and I think John attended the one in Tisbury, and it was very active. People had a lot of questions, and it probably could have lasted a little longer. I think some of them would have liked some more time. John,
Thanks, Joe.
any other questions? Going down to the Centerplate contract renewal.
All right, so before we begin, I'll introduce, so here in the room with us is representatives from Centerplate or Sodexo, Ryan Cummings and Dave Oberlander. So if there's any questions, you can ask them, pepper them with them, but basically, we've been in discussions with Centerplate regarding the concessions contract. Centerplate or variations, talking about name changes, since the early 1990s. So they're coming up on 30 years of service on board the authority's vessels and at the terminals. And over that time, Centerplate and the authority has worked well together to provide, these services to our customers. The COVID-19 pandemic obviously was a significant hurdle to get over. After we closed down the concessions, to reopen them was quite a task. Staffing is most of the issues on the Cape in particular, a challenge as well. But the progress that we've been seeing here on their services and the being able to be maintaining the staffing at the lunch counters is taking dramatic steps forward here in the since they 2021 when they first came back on board. So what we're looking at is Article 6 of their current concession contract includes a provision that unless either party notifies the other by July 31, 2022, which desire to terminate or change any provisions of the agreement, the authority and concessionaire shall promptly thereafter enter into a new agreement, the terms and conditions of which shall be identical to the terms and conditions of the current agreement. So I did say July 2022, but with the COVID-19 and shutting down the lunch counters, the board at one of the meetings did extend the contract by 1 year. So therefore, we have until July 31st of this year to, both sides do, in order to, express a desire to terminate or to go into a new agreement. So staff is of the opinion that we should be working with Centerplate going forward on mutually agreeable terms and conditions of a new contract. One of the challenges that they've been having has been housing on island, in particular for those first trips off the island trips. At this point, they do have housing for their people on the Vineyard. But the Nantucket's been a challenge. They've had housing, but it's the rates have gone up so much that at this point, we're actually looking to provide them with one of our crew rooms up above the terminal to be able to staff, so that way they would have people to staff that last trip to the island and the first trip off island. So with that, I don't know whether Ryan or Dave have any, would like to make a comment, any comments before council weighs in?
I can say something. You see me?
It'll come
So
around.
Ryan Cummings, obviously, most of you know Dave Oberlander, he's been here for a long time, so we've brought Dave back on to help us reset following COVID. I'm a 20-year hospitality employee, I've been with Centerplate now 15 years. So Dave's kind of helping us reset, get back in order. Just some quick updates, obviously, we talked about our sales have increased significantly since we've returned prior to last year. We've also gone up on increased wages over 30% from our pre-COVID rates for staff as we continue to hire. And we've invested significantly in J1s, which are now coming back, which are helping us obviously staff all of these shifts going forward. We appreciate being long-term partners and look forward to continuing to grow.
Thank you.
I'd like to add something if I could. Although we've had a number of name changes, I think it's important to point out that right up until this point, since just recently, a number of the executive positions within the company actually come from Boston Concessions Group, including the CEO, who is now since retired. But again, a number of the executives, especially in this part of the country, were with Concession Group from the beginning. And I personally like to thank everybody from the Ports Council and the members of the board of governors and management from the steamship. I've lived here and I've been here for 30 years, and we've had a great relationship, and we consider this one of our most important accounts that we have. We'd love to stay on.
Thank you. Port Council members, any questions?
No, just, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank them as well. Last time I saw them was when the Dunkin' Donuts idea came forward, which went away really fast. And like really fast, but that's okay. We all learn, don't we? So you guys do a great job. I'm very sorry about what happened over here with the housing and just all this unpredictable stuff that's happened. And I feel for you, and don't be concerned with, people being angry and this and that during that period of time. The only thing I would say is, as far as that goes, is, on our route, you need to have something to drink. When, if this ever happened again, got to have some kind of a plan to have something to drink on the boat. Because we're, 2-hour rides, not like over there in the Lucky Island, 7 miles. So the other thing is, when you guys get back to sort of, the new normal, that's gonna, it seems like you're pretty much there now. I remember asking you before about local food offers. There's a lot of, coming out of COVID, what's happened is there's a ton of catering now. I mean, there's more food trucks on Nantucket. I just can't believe how many of them there are. And there's a lot of people doing stuff out of commercial kitchens. It's a little different now. There's just more offerings. And I'm not saying that, this is something you should do or have to do or whatever. I'm just suggesting a thought for you to have some local offerings on the boats. In this, maybe just during the summer when the Eagle and the Woods Hole are running, that kind of, obviously I don't mean it in the winter and even in the fall when we're doing boat switches, but when there's a consistent schedule with a lot of passengers, that's pretty much all. I think you ought to look at that at some point. But thank you very much for doing what you do for us. Thank you.
Absolutely, and we definitely are interested in working with the local community and anything we can find, so definitely on the top of our mind coming out of COVID.
Thank you.
Any other questions? The one question I had is, are the terms of the contract usually 5 years?
So over the life of this, there's been various terms, 3 years, 5 years. We pretty much settled on 5 on the basis that there's a lot of capital investment that takes place in this, and in order to try to amortize that over a little bit longer period of time. We've been fairly consistent lately with the 5 years.
Yeah. Yep, Joe, Mr. Chairman, that's, Bob just nailed it. They just before COVID, they did a bunch of stuff with like water filtration, things to make just a lot of improvements. They have to spend a lot of money. This is like somebody renting a town building for a restaurant. Like they're responsible for a lot of things. So that's, Bob's point is really accurate. They're sort of us. They're sort of part of us. Once they're disembedded into the system, they're sort of a, like a licensed partner kind of thing. So.
Well, as I
Anyway.
say, I happen to read the contract Sunday afternoon while watching an awful Red Sox game, so. Any other questions? Okay,
The
thank
contract
you.
was more
Oh,
exciting.
this requires a vote.
Make a motion to recommend approval for the renewal of the Centerplate contract.
Do I have a second on that,
second.
please?
I'll second that one.
Okay, Mr. Lowell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Cahill,
Cahill, aye.
Mr. Murnia?
Aye.
Mr. Solito, aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number C, the 2023 summer operating schedule modifications.
Yeah, so we just wanted to provide an update here with regards to the operating schedules. As we noted back at the April board meeting, we've had some issues with the availability of crew members, specifically in the licensed deck officers group. And while we continue to try to remedy that situation, there are some service levels that we've needed to adjust and will continue to need to adjust for the remainder of June as it now appears. So this past winter, the Steamship Authority sent 10 members of the crew who had obtained able-bodied seaman status to an 8-week class to study to become pilot mates. And then following class, additional paid study time was provided to those individuals. Following the completion of the coursework, the individuals submitted applications to the Coast Guard's documentation center to be tested. In past years, the testing notification was a relatively fast turnaround, couple weeks at most. Unfortunately, here we are, close to 3 months later. Only 4 of the 10 individuals have been notified that they are that they can test. The first of which I think was sitting yesterday for the test. It's a 5-part test. So the remaining 6 are awaiting notice. So until these individuals can pass the test, we'll remain constrained in terms of being able to provide the full approved operating schedule. And so we've had to scale back, but some of it we're able to fill in with some overtime by crews, but they are limited in the number of hours of overtime that they can do under their licenses. So at this point, for the immediate time period, we'll continue to double crew the INO, which means 4 round trips a day versus 5. Once we start getting busier, we'll be looking at seeing if we can overtime for the additional trip on Fridays and Sundays. And we've been double crewing the governor, which means 4 trips instead of 7. Although we have been, the fleet's been successful and the crew's been willing to fill in for overtime on those extra trips, because we know that that 5th trip is a commuter trip. But we hope that this situation, we're looking at, once we get some of these individuals tested, that the situation will improve some. But we do anticipate that, at least with the INO, that double crewing situation will remain until at least the early parts of July at this point. And this is something that's not just particular to us. This is, in an industry-wide situation where the documentation center is backlogged and is taking a lot longer to process these applications than they previously did. I don't know whether Mark Higgins, whether you have anything that you would like to add, or
We actually just got a 5th approved to test.
breaking news.
And the Coast Guard actually put out a marine safety, what we call an MSIB, to that about 5 weeks ago, stating that there would be a backlog in the evaluations of all of these applications, license renewals, document renewals, all of that. And so, we're working with the NMC. I've reached out directly through them to expedite up to Coast Guard Command to see if we could get any help as far as speeding up the process. So we are exploring all that avenues to get everybody through the application process so that they can test.
Is there any chance we could contact our congressmen or our senators to go to the commandant of the Coast Guard to get maybe a little preference?
We've already had those conversations. So.
Okay, thank you. The other thing I was noticing too, when you look on the schedule, it's showing that the governor is unavailable when you go to make a reservation.
Yeah, it depends upon the time period, because as I said, some of this, we're particularly on the governor, we're basically doing it 2 or 3 days out in advance as to whether we're going to be able to get a crew to be able to run those extra trips. So if it's we do have the crew for today, and then they're working on arrangements for the remainder of the week.
Thank you.
What else
Any
is
other
going?
questions? I'm sorry, John?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. Bob, can you just boil it down in terms of the staffing issues? Are there any boats being canceled?
There have been, yes. So the INO would normally be running 5 trips. It's only been running 4 since middle of May. And the governor has also been double crewed, as opposed to it being triple crewed, since the beginning of May. We are looking at service levels, going forward. Typically for the crews, we'd be putting out the whole summer schedule for them to be bidding on which vessels, but we sat down with the representatives from the bargaining units and agreed that we would just be doing it on a 3-week basis. Until all this these manning issues have been resolved, but and we're also looking at other scenarios in terms of whether we need to be switching boats around, and what happens if we have a number of crew members that happen to go out, and what will happen there. So we're looking at alternatives to the schedule, but at this point, the schedule changes, the INO being double crewed, the governor being double crewed, with the first priority is to get overtime for the governor to run those extra trips.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No other questions. We'll go to D, staffing levels, although you may have answered some of those questions.
Yeah.
Well, this next piece is more on the shore side, so.
Oh,
The Port Council and Board had asked about where we're at on staffing, so Janice has some information here, and have her come up.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So as you can see on the slide, the slide the blue column represents budgeted positions. The middle column, the green, is active, so currently filled, and the red indicates positions that are currently open. So as you can see, the columns that really stand out of the parking lots, maintenance, and a little bit from Hyannis. So some of the struggles that we have are with parking lots and bus drivers. That's it's something that we've been struggling with, but I think overall I think back and I look at this is really the time that we're in with regard to staffing, not just at the Steamship Authority. We received many applications for many positions. Once reviewing it with the meeting with the managers, there are times when if applicants don't return phone calls, they don't show up for interviews, or they come to the interview and they realize, I can't pass a drug test, or I'm just not interested. So it's not that we're not receiving applications, it's just the overall interest. And I don't know, I really do believe that the unemployment rate is relatively low. But again, it's just the challenge with the parking and the bus. The bus drivers, the CCRTA, that often comes up that we're not as competitive with the rates of the CCRTA. However, it's apples and oranges when you ask me with regard to the routing in the schedule. So we ran a nice recruiting campaign with the help of Sean and his team. We're social media. We're on all the LinkedIn's, the Facebook. We do a lot of recruiting on Indeed. We had radio, TV. So we really put a lot of effort into the recruiting strategy this year. So again, I really do think it's a sign of the times, but we're plugging away. And I'm not overly concerned meeting with the managers, the terminal managers. They're at a staffing level. Yes, I know that you can see from the slide that Nantucket is pretty well staffed. Oak Bluffs is looking for dock workers. That's not uncommon. Reservations is doing pretty well. So, and maintenance, the trades they continue to be a challenge to fill. But overall, I'm optimistic with the levels that we're at.
Thank you. Any questions?
How, it sounds like it's not a competitiveness with salary issue. Is that true, or how would you, what would you say are the top 3 reasons why it's so difficult to fill this position?
Well, on the islands, it's honestly, it's a matter of bodies, right? And the ability to pass a drug test. That's the feedback that we get from the folks on the islands. Here, the hourly rate, honestly, for the bus drivers is really what although we did increase their hourly rates, and the parking lot attendants in Hyannis. Those seem, and that's an hourly rate, yeah. But overall, I think we're doing well.
No, I think you're good. It's everybody's got.
Yeah, it's just,
I see you guys nodding your head, it's the same
right,
thing.
it's a challenge. It really is a challenge everywhere.
Yeah.
So, I mean, on the
Tricky.
administrative side of the, the admin type positions, those are easier, obviously, to fill, right? We get a lot of activity on Indeed. We hire a lot from social media, so. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Communications plan?
All right, I'll start and then Sean can jump in here. So in your packet is a a draft of some of the communications plan that we intend to be working on. It includes follow-up to letters to the editor on terms of to provide factual replies to statements that are out there in the local media or ongoing letters. We need to be looking at making sure that that the correct information is being put out there. We want to have more staff outreach with the community, public events, whether it's chamber events or community events. For instance, on Saturday, Allison manned a booth over at the Hyannis Transportation Center here with the first of our electric buses. It was called Recharge America. And so it was a electric vehicle event, and we were pleased to show off what will be the first electric bus here on the Cape. And so Allison, under less than ideal conditions, manned the booth. So, but those are the type of thing, some of the things that we're working on. We also want to be able to make sure that the information is out there and being more proactive. Be promoting our performance records. So, for instance, in 2022. While the staff summary has it that fewer than 1 in 100, it's really closer to 1 in 200 of the authority trips were canceled because of mechanical. It was 0.53, I believe, was the percentage of canceled trips. So the perceptions out there that we're canceling consistently, and that's just not the case. And so we need to be able to document that and have that out there. And I think the plan there will be reporting those on a quarterly basis with the media and putting it on our website and in the e-news. We'll have commonly.
Want me to take over?
Yeah. I lost my spot here.
It's all right. Start continuing on from Bob's excellent start. Another thing that we're going to be working on is basically fact sheets for items like our performance statistics, project information. Basically to get those to our employees, core council members and board members and other sort of key ambassadors for easy access. Under the theory that if we have the information, but we don't get it easily to people who can repeat it to the public, then shame on us. Another thing we're going to be working on is better promoting our employee contributions to not only excellent service, but other community events. So we're going to work on a program to empower and encourage our employees for finding examples of those great customer service moments and communicating them to me so that we can promote them. We're going to work to increase communication of our island resident only service offerings. And be a little bit more proactive about introducing new island residents to those things like the excursion program and Head Start and other items like that. Mark Higgins and I are going to work closely to get the communications function of the Operation and Communication Center beefed up a little bit to train them to be able to act as that communications hub so they can handle some of the things that need to be done after hours and on the weekends. And then also just work to get some new communication channels going. You know, we've talked a lot about the digital signage project that's gonna be dependent on capital funding, but there are things that we can do, like new partnerships with community organizations, senior centers, having open houses, that sort of thing, to be able to meet our island residents and commuters where they are, to get information to them and to help them know more about our program. So obviously, we might have some more recommendations as well after the review of the IT systems that's just getting started, but these are some top level things that are going to be starting. Some of them have already started and some of them will be starting between now and the fall. I would say these will all be underway. So, and this was in response to inquiries from board member Jim Malkin and John Cahill and Joe Salito, and really all the board and port council members asking for a little bit more of a structure to our efforts. So this is what we're working on. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, John.
you know, in 2 years, 3 years as a port council member, I don't get very excited on port council meetings, but this one I am. It's great, Sean, that I see you're doing this. And my hat's off to you, and anything you can, you know, if you need any help or any questions, give me a shout. But really, it's wonderful, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just to again reiterate what John said, especially going to the senior citizen centers. I usually go maybe once a month, once every 2 months, to the one in Oak Bluffs to have discussions about town government and about some legal issues that they might have. But that might be one of the things to do, is every once in a while, stop by one of the senior centers. You'll get a very, very good crowd, because most of the people, or all of the people that were at the function here on the strategic plan, most of them were senior citizens. Also, Sean, I liked your letter to the editor for the Falmouth Enterprise. It
Yeah,
was very, very good.
I'll second
Thank you.
that. Great,
Yep.
thank you.
Any other questions?
yeah, Mr. Chairman, and Sean, thank you also for those comments, Sean, and that we just got from the electrification last thing that we just got sent yesterday or the day before. That was very good. Well said. Not confrontational, just telling the truth, which is what we need to do. On this particular issue, I like this. This is something the town, you know, over here did too, you know, a few years back, when things just, there's hot topics come up and all of a sudden there's all this stuff on Facebook and people are saying things that aren't true, and it's very difficult to rebut that stuff. You know, it's, you get into an argument, or it's better to just keep it simple. But I just want to say to everyone, you know, little things go a long way here. Little acts of kindness. You know, you hear about, for example, like the wheelchair. Where's the wheelchairs? They're all on one side, not the other, or something like that. No one could find one. That was a few years ago, but I'm just saying, those little things, the baggage carts on the fast boat, people bring their stuff home. That needs to continue to work the way it does, okay? You get new people come in that don't know how things work, quote unquote, and they kind of say something that may not be the right thing, that somebody else said, whatever. So the more customer service friendliness that we can do in certain areas is as good as any plan you could ever devise. Okay, you guys got your issues over there in the vineyard. You don't like the boat late for 5 minutes. We are different over here. We just want the boat to run. And you know, we you know, there's a lot of things that we're working on behind the scenes. You know, Allison and I discuss this stuff a lot, and Bob and Mark, I discuss with you about some of the things that we need to improve with the reservations and the mixed use boats and things like that. But that's bigger stuff. I'm talking about helping people. And somebody's in line and they need to get home, and they do a pretty good job with that. I hear that stuff comes back to us, Rob and I, when somebody's in line and they get bumped in front of cars that don't have drivers, when they're, you know, with family and sitting kids in the back seat. That kind of stuff happens, which is great. So I'm just saying, let's not lose sight of the simple stuff as well as the large scale stuff. So anyway, thank you all for everything you're doing.
Thank you, Nat. Any other questions?
Yeah, it's Rob here.
Yeah,
I agree with everything that the three of you just said. I think this is really a good initiative. I know we're gonna talk about Bob's goals for next year as the last item on the agenda, and I've always been arguing that this needs to be one of our goals, and so this is gonna make it easy. When we get to that point. So I think that's really good. And I'm sure there's a lot of other creative things that you guys can come up with along the way. The one thing it does require, and this isn't intended to be a negative comment, but every now and then, something bad happens. And so we have to be just proactive about, the communications associated with them. That way, the public will feel that they're getting the transparency that they all want. So that does put a little more pressure on that, I think. But I think this is a really good initiative.
Yeah, and I mean, we have great plans for when things. One of the first things I told Bob when I interviewed for this job is that man does job well, does not make the news. So I have a binder of plans for when things go wrong, and we needed a binder of plans for when things go right, and that's what this is.
Excellent. Good, thanks.
Any other questions?
I just want to say thanks again, Sean.
Thank you all for your support. Appreciate it.
Going to the treasurer's report.
Morning, everyone. This is something first.
Are you gonna go through all 265 pages?
That's second.
Slowly.
So the business summary for the month of April. So for the month of April, passengers for both routes combined were up 3.1%, just under 6,100 passengers. The Vineyard was up 1.8%, while Nantucket was up 8.1%, primarily due to the ridership on the Fast Ferry being up 13%. Both routes combined year to date are up 8.3%, or just under 44,000 passengers, and pretty equally split between the two routes as far as percentages go. Here's a graph showing the passenger comparison from this year compared to last year by month. This year is in orange, last year is in blue. Okay, so we have vehicles carried for the month of April. On the Vineyard route, we're down 0.9%, or 332 cars. You can see the excursion fare vehicles are up while the standard fares are down. On the Nantucket route, we're down 1.5%, or 100 vehicles. In both routes combined, we're down 432 vehicles, or 0.9%. Year to date, we're up 0.7%, or just over 1,000 vehicles. And here's the graph comparing the month. Freight trucks for the month of April, total freight was up 1.8%. The Vineyard was up 5.6%, while Nantucket was down 3.7%. And these are one-way vehicles. So total trucks increased for the year to date are up 7.8%, and just over 2,000 freight vehicles. And here's the monthly comparison. Here's the graph showing the vehicles, average vehicles per trip per day on the Vineyard route. Woods Hole cars are in blue, the trucks from Woods Hole are in orange, the vehicle cars are in green leaving the Vineyard, and in yellow the trucks leaving the Vineyard. So here we can see the freight traffic leaving Woods Hole in the morning and coming back in the afternoon. And here it's more clearly illustrated by weekdays. And here's the weekend where we can see we nearly don't have the freight traffic on the weekends as we do on the weekdays. And what we do have is generally in the morning, come back in the afternoon. Cars parked for the month of April, we're up 12.2% for both routes combined, with just over 1,100 vehicles. The Nantucket route was up 15%, and the Vineyard route was up 11.4%. Year to date, we're up just over 4,000 vehicles, or 19.5%. Here's the illustration showing the vehicles by month, the cars parked. Trip summary report. So for the month of April on the Vineyard route, we had 4 trips canceled for mechanical, 0 for weather. On the Nantucket route, we had 0 trips canceled for mechanical and 4 for weather. In purple, new for this month at Mr. Jones's request, we have the percentages of year to date of the trip cancellations. So year to date of all the trips that operated on the Vineyard route, 1.08% were canceled for mechanical and 1.1 for weather. Overall, as an organization through April, we have 0.8% trips canceled for mechanical and 1.52 for weather.
Mr. Chairman, can I just interrupt for just
Sure,
a
go ahead.
second to ask Mark a question?
Yeah,
I
sure.
kind of know the answer, but I just want, so the traffic term, that means lack of, correct, Mark?
Exactly. So if we have a boat that we can consolidate on another
Yeah.
trip, then we just don't run it.
Okay, because that's funky to look at if you don't know what you're looking at. So I just figured I'd ask, make sure that that's correct.
So for instance, I believe it was last night, we had the Woods Hole that we're able to consolidate the vehicles on another trip and not run the boat.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Financial snapshot. So for the month of April, we had operating revenue of $9.8 million, which is lower than budget by roughly $124,000. We had other income of $1.8 million. It was higher than budget by $1,776,000. And that was timing of grant revenue. And if you remember earlier, about 2 months ago, we were just the opposite really. And then it was a catch up. Operating expenses of $9.8 million, was lower than budget by $532,000. Putting this all together, we had a net operating income for the month of April of $1,721,000, which was higher than budget by $2.2 million. We were expecting an operating loss for the month of April, but because of the timing of the grant revenue, that put us to an operating income for the month. Putting this all together, we have the net operating loss of $8.4 million for the year, which is lower than budget by about $6 million. And some of this is the timing, which we'll go over in some of the other slides. Okay, so the operating revenue here, we can see for the month, we're down, the categories that were down was the rent revenue and the automobile revenue. The automobile revenue is a combination of the standard fares being down compared to the previous year, which we based the budget on, and the Nantucket route. Overall, their total passenger vehicles were down, and those are the generally higher paying vehicles. Year to date, revenue for operating revenue is up $525,000. And other income, which is the grant revenue and the interest income, is up $1.7 million. Of that, roughly $900,000 of that is grant revenue and about $700,000 is interest income. The interest rates are higher than what we projected. Here's a breakdown of the monthly operating revenues as well as the year-to-date revenues and where the categories fall. Operating expenses. For the month, we're down $532,000. Fuel expense for the month was down $236,000. We budgeted $4.07 and it came in at $3.03. Year to date, you see the maintenance expense is down $1.3 million. And some of that is timing issue where this year we have some HVAC work in Vineyard Haven and some dock work that hasn't been done yet. And we're expecting that to be done later on this year. Here's a breakdown of the categories of the operating expenses by month and for the year. Passengers for May, we're up 10.1% on both routes combined, or 16,389 passengers. Year to date, we're up 8.7%. Vehicles on the Vineyard route for the month of May were up 3.8%, or just over 1,200 vehicles. Nantucket, for these are all vehicles combined, was up 6% of 441 vehicles. You can see both routes. You can see the standard fare automobiles are still lagging compared to the previous year.
First 3 weeks.
And that's for the first 3 weeks of May, I'm sorry. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has on the business summary for the month of April.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark, it might be for you or for Bob, but what is the dock work that's going to be done in Vineyard Haven?
There was some bollard work that was going to be done that wasn't done yet. As far as the budget goes right now, there's some HVAC work at the terminal building and some siding work that hasn't been done as well that we're in the process of. It might even be on the street as we speak out for bid for those repairs.
They are on the street. They should be open this month.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Analysis of, anything else, Mark?
No, unless anyone has any questions, I'm good on that.
Thanks, Mark. Great job.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. So now we have the analysis of the cost of service. I'm gonna spare everyone and not go through the almost 200 pages. So we'll cut right to the chase on tab 5. Can you move the video? Make that a little bigger.
All right.
So cutting right to the chase on, consolidating the 200 pages of this onto the, it comes down to 2 pages and can go up 1 page. That's all right. No, yeah, there we go. So in tabs, row C, we have the total cost of indirect and operating costs. On the Vineyard route, we're up compared to the previous year, just under $1.9 million. And all things considering, when you factor in fuel last year for both routes combined, we're up $2.8 million. And when inflation was, that's where we stood. We increased the number of trips in column D by 276. And that's really just a factor of the days where the operating schedule fell from the summer and the fall. The cost per trip, we divide the cost in C by D, and we get the cost per trip, which increased by $47. If we can look at row G, that's the number of passenger vehicles we carried, which were down 9,900. And in row H is the freight trucks. And on the Vineyard route, the growth was not with the big trucks, it was for the 2-space and the 3-space trucks, the smaller trucks. Actually, the 4- and 5-space trucks were down, as you can see in the column there from last year. So once we put that together, you can see we have total capacity, which increased by 3,130 spaces, where we did increase the amount of trips by 267, but we don't have a boat that carries 10 car spaces. It's really just a factor of the way the schedule and what boats were on the run. In 2022, the Island Home was out of service longer than it was in 2021. So when we factor all this in, we have an occupancy rate went from 82.6% to 81.8% on the Vineyard route. So we actually had more excess capacity in 2022 versus 2021.
But if I may, that's for the entire year in both directions. So the seasonality takes into account that traffic going one way versus the other certain times of the year. So we've always looked at around 80 to 85% as being at maximum capacity.
We can slow down a little bit. So row O, we total revenue was down by 205,000 on the Vineyard route. Where you can see the passenger revenue was up, but the standout there is the standard fare automobiles compared to the prior year were down $1.7 million. And that's reflective of the quantity of the vehicles traveling. So then when we go to so the estimated cost per car, so we factor all this in, we take the amount of vehicles that travel, that the average cost to carry a car this year was $69.94 compared to last year at $68.10. So there's $1.84 more expensive for us to carry a vehicle. And if we can go down to X, so we can see the last year in 2021, the automobiles covered 101.7% of their cost. Well, this year we're under that number. That's relative to the standard fares coming down. We're at 96.8%. The standard fares covered 133.6% of that cost, while the excursion fares covered 33.1%. Pretty similar in line to what last year was, a little variation. So looking at the Nantucket run.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so there we can see the cost of their operating schedule went up $2,960,000. That's in cost of the fuel as well as the way how the dry dock shaped out, which boats got allocated to what route. We did increase the trips by 109 last year, and that's a result of when the schedules fell. The cost per trips did increase by $406 last year compared to Vineyard route. They have a longer route and the fuel cost is more impactful on each trip. Looking at the vehicles on Road G, you saw the standard fare similar to the Nantucket route did decrease. So then we go down a little bit further. So we get the occupancy rate on row and we went down 1.1% on the Nantucket route from 86.4 to 85.3%. We did increase the capacity by 4,210 car spaces, which is really, when you look at the amount of trips, it's relative to the Sanking or Gatehead running those in the shoulder season schedules. Here again, we can see the standard for automobiles on the Nantucket run were down and revenue similar to the Vineyard route. And the revenue this year on the Nantucket route was down to $262,000. So the cost of a vehicle, a car space on the Nantucket run went up $13 from 2021 to 2022. So that's in section V. It went from $155 to $168. The average revenue per vehicle on the Nantucket route, the standard fare went up 59 cents. And the excursion fare went up 43 cents. And here we can see the this year, the standard fares in 2022 covered almost 144% of the cost, while the excursions covered 36.1%. And with that, I'd be happy to, as an overview, what we do is we take all the revenue related to the vessels, we take all the direct and indirect costs for the vessels, put them together, and that's how, and then we start breaking it down on a categorical basis. And so
Any
with
questions?
that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Thank you, Mark, for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm just going to pretend that I'm just a regular resident watching this meeting, seeing that breakdown, Mark. And the first thing that jumps out at me as just a regular person is the 85% occupancy, right? When you get told there's no room till September 17th. And this is the stuff that I talk to you guys about constantly. I talk to Allison about this. I talk to you guys about this. I realize why this stuff happens, but if I had to explain that to someone, they'd think I was off my rocker. Okay, so you guys over on the other island, totally different scenario, and reasons why, but on our side, this is why I am like pushing the gas pedal down further on this whole H-boat, T-boat stuff. When we get these new boats, those numbers should go up, because there's not going to be any, weird stuff with the the computer system to book on these boats. It's not going to be draft stuff. You're not going to have any of these problems. It's going to be the Woods Hole that you back up on, as Allison coined. I think that's a pretty good way to explain what these boats are. The Woods Hole that you back up. And that's going to make a huge, huge difference in how we can fix some of our existing problems that we have, that we just can't seem to. We can't be like the airlines and have every seat taken and there's one extra person that's got to get a free ticket for the next flight. We just can't do that. But we can do better, but we'll never be like the airlines. And so that leads to another little point that Mark, actually, we talked about this years ago, is the underutilized trips and the ones that are running that have to run, not the ones that we can cancel, that we talked about in the statistics with the traffic part, like certain ways to promote weekend excursions, let's say, on some of those trips that are just sort of almost half full just because of the nature of the trip, and making those trips available for locals once we get these boats that don't have that issue with the potential draft, and they can't ride with their car and they have to take the fast boat and the drive off and all those crazy things that happen to somebody over here when they can't ride with their car. Because the way things are trending on Nantucket now, there is actually a new lifestyle sort of movement back to sort of the old way. People like to go in their car more than you think, depending upon what they're doing. Going off for the night, coming back the next day. Those things are people want to do that. It's not all Fastbury. There's a mix here now. So just bringing that up as part of, the overall sort of strategic thinking for the next, 6 or 8 months when we get these new boats coming online in May, hopefully. So anyway, thank you for everything you're doing.
So Matt, to your point, and as Bob said, the 84% is very high because we have trips that are naturally, they're almost like deadheads. For instance, Memorial Day weekend, everything goes over. And then the boats are, basically one-way direction. On Sundays in the off season for you, no one's leaving the island on that last freight boat off island where everyone's coming back from the weekend. For example, on the Vineyard, the 930 trip is not very attractive coming off the island. Numbers are baked into keeping that. You're not
I
gonna get
understand
100%.
that. I didn't mean to gloss over those parts. I know that you can't fill up the boat, that can't, just impossible to do. I get that. I'm just talking about more general, increasing the numbers a little bit more, when we can get more booking and more availability by natural, increase. Does that make sense? Without having this draft issue stuff happening. So thank you. Sorry, I know I should have said that at the outset.
John?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Mark, fascinating. I really like that analysis. And I would like to print it out and have the opportunity to pick up the phone and call you if I could. I don't want to take up people's time today. But one question, could you just define the occupancy rate, how that formula works? You were just moving too fast.
So the occupancy is we take the total, we factor in what boat ran, what the capacity of the boat. So all the operating trips times their capacity, that is the overall capacity we have. And then we take out how many spaces were used. So our car was 1 space, a delivery truck's 2 space, a semi's 4 space. So we factor in all the spaces that actually travel, and it's simply by dividing what actually traveled by what could have traveled. And that's how we come up with the occupancy. And I'll get you a hard copy out tomorrow and then have it at the Vineyard Haven terminal for you.
Or you can email it.
Okay.
Do that. And I'll follow up with a call. Thank you.
Okay.
I know, Mark, what Matt was talking about, because the only reason I ever went on Island is talk was to see how they're talking about the Steamship Authority, and somebody had a complaint on Sunday of Memorial Day weekend that there's only 7 or 8 cars on one boat leaving the Vineyard, saying, how come there's no reservations? But they don't understand. Nobody wanted to leave the Vineyard on Sunday morning.
So very common, Joe, like in Woods Hole, that you go to noontime, all those 6 or 8 trips in the morning and Sunday morning in the off season, you could put them all onto one boat. And then once you get to 2 o'clock, they're all sold out. So that's where that's numbers never gonna hit 100. So it's, like Bob said, when you're getting in the mid to 80s, you're really effectively at usable 100.
The other question I had was on page 222. You were talking about corpses.
There's no 222.
Oh, no.
Well, it was,
the tariffs, yeah.
You go all the way to.
Yeah, the
We
tariffs.
fixed that years ago.
So we do not charge, yeah.
Do you still charge?
No, no, not for that. It goes in the hearse, it's fine.
Okay, because there was a point when I thought you were charging.
No.
Way back then. I was informed of that by a mutual friend.
Yeah, there was a time years ago.
Yeah. That's true.
Joe, that's an old one. That's a good one, Joe. That's a long, old story.
That's before my tenure here, Joe.
He was very worried about that. Our mutual friend, Mark. Any other questions of Mark?
I had one, Mark.
Go ahead, Rob. Because I can't see you, Rob. Go ahead, Rob.
Usually buried here somewhere is the allocation between the two islands.
It's the cost allocation, yes.
And how that balances or doesn't balance. Just at a high level.
That's the-
Sure, so the
I always
total,
find that fascinating.
yeah, so the revenues for the two islands, the Vineyard did 58.1%, Nantucket did 41.9% for the revenue. The expenses, allocated expenses were 57.2 and 42.8 respectively, so they're very close. There wasn't a big, like a 5% swing.
Right.
So they're within, you know, basically the Vineyard goes up a half a point, Nantucket comes down, you're the same.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, so the net operating for the budget, you know, they came in pretty close, 9.2 versus 7.2.
But no one island is
No,
subsidizing. the
not
other.
like in the past when you have a wild swing back and forth. They were pretty even as far as costs related to expenses this year.
When you take into account the non-service income, which is primarily license fees. It actually,
Yeah,
it does swing it slightly to the Nantucket side that they're the revenues from the Nantucket operation is more than what the cost of that service is.
The non-offer, yeah.
yeah.
Any other questions?
Stuff.
All right, thank you. And we'll go on to old new business. Item A.
Leave that for Terrence and Janice.
Hello again. So it's that time of year again for Bob's performance evaluation, his favorite time of the year. So yesterday I emailed out to all of the Port Council members and the Board of Directors to their Steamship Authority email account, the performance evaluation, which again this year is in the form of a Google Doc. So if you wanted to go to your personal email, just let me know, but it will be in your Steamship email. And also included in that email is a memo, the memo that we send out, which really outlines the process, the whole process for the delivery of the performance evaluation. So the Port Council will be prepared to present their evaluations to Bob in July. Actually, obviously the Board of Directors as well. So as we've done it in years past, each Port Council and board member reviews Bob independently, not communicating with any other members. And then they will present their performance evaluation, like I said, at the July meeting. Are there any questions?
Is there any chance we could do that? This is Joe Saleo. In August, I know myself, and I know that same with John, we're very, very busy in the summertime here, especially on the island. I don't know if that's possible or not. Nat, how do you feel about that, or John, or Rob?
Whatever works with you guys, I guess.
What is the deadline on that one?
Yeah,
July 1st, probably, because we have to have it ready for the July meeting.
Right.
We're already in June 6th.
I mean, Bob's not like leaving tomorrow, so. Not like a contract.
You told me.
No, don't go
You didn't hear?
anywhere, Bob.
I thought you
Stay right
heard.
where you are.
Any
I mean,
comments,
whatever
John?
works. I mean, do we have to have it at an exact timeline for the Port Council meeting? Or is it for the board meeting in July, which is later?
If I may, I think the issue we'll have to look at is, my memory is that the August meeting, we're gonna be doing yet another joint meeting for strategic planning. I think that was.
I'm in practice and removing my audible sigh, and it just happened. So that's one. That's not bad.
Yeah, and the other mention is, you know, the board wants the feedback from the Port Council before their
Right.
deliberations, so.
Okay.
If we can keep the July date.
Okay.
that would
Okay.
be-
All right.
Would be best.
Okay, that's fine. We can do the August meeting in Hyannis, Nat.
Well, that's what I'm gonna ask next, but it's up, you know, I have to do what I can, that's all. Oh, When's that August meeting? What would that be, the joint? It would be at the Port Council meeting joint, or would it be at the other one?
It would be, like what we did before, it'd be following the Port Council meeting, a joint meeting. And, I'm just trying to get a calendar up here to
Yeah,
just take a look.
so it'd be the 8th,
No, the first.
right? Oh, it's the
It'll be August
first.
8th, yeah.
Meeting set for the 15th right now.
So the joint meeting is the Port Council and joint meeting are August 1. I think.
Yeah,
August 1st would be the first Tuesday of the month.
Wow.
So it'll be August 1st.
Sir,
Would that be a hybrid meeting?
Oh, he just said we're doing the Julia Novak stuff then too.
So you have to be in person.
I can't make an August meeting.
What about moving it to the 8th, Bob? We do that a lot. I mean, when it's the first of the month like that, sometimes we move things around. I mean, I'm just,
Am I reading John correctly that either way, it's gonna be problematic?
Yes,
oh,
you know, August is our peak of the peak. To travel to Hyannis is gonna be a big challenge. I mean, I can do it if I need to, but if there's way to move that around.
We'll come back to Julia about that.
Well, yeah, we'll talk
I mean-
and, we'll look at the schedule and see.
you don't
what-
have to have it in Hyannis, Bob. I mean, you know, as long as you give me a minute, I mean, I'll get on the 6:30 and I'll be zipping down to Falmouth. I mean, it isn't too bad. You know, I mean, if that makes it better for them, you know, for John and Joe, I can certainly zip down to Falmouth, you know, no
Well, that's up
problem.
to John. I don't, that doesn't, no way we could fly you in, you and Rob? Fly you guys in from Nantucket?
If I may, can we, why don't we, I'll follow up with Julia and members of the Port Council and Board as to scheduling options and
Okay,
where we get the best results.
thank you.
And those
Going out
those
of-
little sandwiches were pretty good, Bob, the last meeting. So,
Okay, so any more business?
One other
Going to
thing,
item number-
evaluation.
Going to item number 5, the.
Wait,
public
wait,
comment.
Joe,
I'm sorry,
Joe,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering if it's possible to get a summary of your perceived accomplishment on each of the line items in your goals in advance of us doing this, so that we have some input.
so Janice has been requesting that I get that done, shall I say? And so I'm working on it. I anticipate getting it out here in the next week or so.
That would be great.
Sorry, Rob. Is there any way, Sean, that he could always be on the screen? Because I can't see him raising his hand.
I don't know that well, we can work on it for the next meeting. We're almost.
Okay. That's okay, thank you. Anybody else have any comment?
I do have one more thing, if I may.
Yep.
Chair.
Yes,
I just want to introduce, in the, earlier I mentioned Stephen Coleman. So Stephen, if you want to come up. Stephen Coleman has joined us. He's going to be has joined the authority as the incoming director of the MIS group upon Kurt Van Riper is indicated he's going to be retiring at the end of the year. So we brought Stephen in to put a transition here, and I just wanted to make the introductions to him, and I'm sure it was next time we get together in person that we'll introduce you in person.
welcome aboard.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
congratulations and welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything else, Bob?
That does it for me.
Going to item number 5, public comment.
If anyone's got public comment, you can hit the raise your hand icon. And I don't see any.
Not seeing anything else? Anything else from any of the board members?
Leon.
Leon, yeah, hold on.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Leon,
I just wanted to congratulate you, Sean, for putting together that package on the communication about what's happening at the steamship. And to me, it's a very positive thing. I know Jim Melkin and I had spoken about it, and so with John and with Joe. And I think that's going to go a long way to help correct some of the misinformation that's been put out about the Steamship Authority and what it's doing on a regular basis.
Here, 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 here.
Yep.
The only other
Thank you.
question I had with respect to the new website and the name change, I would just question whether or not they're going to increase the administrative overhead based on the new corporation and what's happening with the numbers there. So I'd look at those as you continue to negotiate with the contractor.
it's a good point, Leon, but none of those rates have changed throughout the duration of the project.
Great,
so-
thank you.
Thank you, Leon. Any other questions?
Don't see any.
John? Okay. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Mr. Lowell,
aye.
Mr. Cahill,
Cahill, aye.
Mr. Murnia,
Aye.
Mr.
Thank you.
Saleo, aye. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
all very,
everyone.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you.